The following video includes mentions of drug addiction, attempted suicide, and allegations of sexual abuse, child abuse, and workplace harassment. It's easy to put Hollywood hitmakers on a pedestal because their industry seems glamorous and brings us joy. Unfortunately, there is a long and disturbing history of alleged abuse in Hollywood, and we've uncovered some of the most egregious examples from actors who claimed they were abused on set. Tippi Hedren is a living Hollywood legend known for the thrillers she starred in, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, 1963's The Birds and 1964's Marnie. In her 2016 memoir, Tippi, Hedren said that Hitchcock deserved credit for making her a star. However, she also described different types of abuse that allegedly happened on both film sets, which might explain why she never worked with Hitchcock again after Marnie. During filming The Birds, Hedren claimed that she kept distance from Hitchcock after he made unsolicited advances towards her in the back of a limo. She said, "With no warning, he threw himself on top of me and tried to kiss me." In response to Hedren's horrified reaction, Hitchcock allegedly exacted a dangerous kind of revenge. He reportedly told her that mechanical birds would be used in a scene where her character gets attacked. But then the director used real birds. Per IndieWire, the cuts and scratches Hedren endures on screen are real, as is the shock and terror on her face. In her book, the actor wrote, "The attack was brutal and ugly and relentless." While filming Marnie, Hitchcock allegedly sexually assaulted Hedren. She wrote, "I'll simply say that he suddenly grabbed me and put his hands on me. It was sexual, it was perverse, and it was ugly. And I couldn't have been more shocked and repulsed."
When you have an obsession over someone, it is a terrible thing to be the object of that obsession.
Hedren claimed that Hitchcock threatened her, and she never spoke to him again, even though filming continued. Björk is best known as a boundary-pushing singer with 15 Grammy nominations to her name, but she also tried her hand at acting in the 2000 film Dancer in the Dark. She played Selma, a European mother who takes her son to the US, hoping that their experience will be like what they see in the movies. However, neither Björk's experience on set nor Selma's on screen went as they expected. In 2 Facebook posts shared in 2017, Björk alleged that the film's director, Lars von Trier, sexually harassed her while making the movie. While detailing her experiences, she claimed that von Trier made explicit sexual advances towards her. She wrote, "He threatened to climb from his room's balcony over to mine in the middle of the night with a clear sexual intention." She added, "I became aware that it is a universal thing that a director can touch and harass his actresses at will, and the institution of film allows it." There is a particular type of abuse that some actors will endure in Hollywood: physical or emotional abuse from a director in the name of getting a coveted Oscar nomination. Darren Aronofsky, the director of acclaimed films like Black Swan, The Rookie, and Noah, will seemingly oblige any actor willing to put in the work. Some of this pain, like the quote, physically grueling ballet training Natalie Portman underwent to prepare for Black Swan, was the actor's choice. But Aronofsky went to extremes to portray realistic battle scenes and torture on the set of 2014's Noah. Ray Winstone, who plays the villain Tubal Cain in the film, told the publication that he got sunstroke and lost movement in his right arm while filming. He said, "I think Darren takes great pleasure in seeing you go through pain. You go again and again and again. He pushes you to the limit, looking for perfection." Director Stanley Kubrick is notorious for running a demanding set. In a 2021 profile, The Hollywood Reporter asked reclusive former Hollywood star Shelley Duvall if Kubrick treated her viciously on set. "He's got that streak in him. He definitely has that, but I think mostly because people have been that way to him at some time in the past. His first 2 films were Killer's Kiss and The Killing." Stanley Kubrick's own daughter, Vivian Kubrick, captured Duvall's physical and emotional exhaustion while filming The Shining. The behind-the-scenes documentary features the actor lying down on the floor, completely exhausted. Angelica Houston, who lived with the film star Jack Nicholson at the time, told The Hollywood Reporter that she believed he and Stanley Kubrick were unsupportive. "When I saw her during those days, she seemed generally a bit tortured, shook up. I don't think anyone was being particularly careful of her." The original Dorothy of Oz had a difficult life. Judy Garland died of an accidental sleeping pill overdose in 1969, but this was just the last of many hardships she suffered in her life. They began at about the age of 13, when Garland signed a contract with MGM Studios, whose executives allegedly created body image issues for her by forcing her not to eat, made her develop a reliance on drugs by giving her amphetamines and barbiturates, and even reportedly sexually assaulted her. Garland married for the first time at age 19 and would have 5 husbands in total. One was allegedly abusive. She also survived multiple suicide attempts per time. Focusing on the abusive on-set conditions Garland allegedly endured, the most shocking story comes from her most famous film. Garland's ex-husband, Sid Luft, who served as her manager and to whom she was married from 1952 to 1965, had a memoir published posthumously in 2017. Luft died in 2005. In the book, he claimed that the actors who played the Munchkins in The Wizard of Oz sexually assaulted Garland. He wrote, "They would make Judy's life miserable on set by putting their hands under her dress." The men were 40 or more years old. They thought they could get away with anything because they were so small. Last Tango in Paris is a 1972 film starring Marlon Brando and Maria Schneider, which was directed by Bernardo Bertolucci. It tells the story of 2 strangers who meet while looking to rent an apartment in Paris and begin an affair that gets increasingly violent. In 2007, Schneider gave an interview to Daily Mail in which she claimed that she was sexually manipulated by both Bertolucci and Brando in a scene that featured her character Jeanne being raped by Brando's Paul. Schneider said, "That scene wasn't in the original script. The truth is, it was Marlon who came up with the idea. They only told me about it before we had to film the scene, and I was so angry." Schneider said that she should have called her agent or lawyer, but she was 19, new to the business, and did not know the addition was out of the norm. The on-screen sex act was completely simulated, but Schneider added, "I was crying real tears. I felt humiliated, and to be honest, I felt a little raped, both by Marlon and by Bertolucci." According to Vox, Bertolucci did take some responsibility in a 2013 interview, saying, "I've been, in a way, horrible to Maria." However, he tried to justify his actions by claiming that he wanted her to, quote, "feel, not to act." Director David O. Russell has an alleged history of aggressive behavior on set, from a physical altercation with George Clooney on 1999's Three Kings to the time he was filmed calling Lily Tomlin a while filming 2004's I Heart Huckabees. Perhaps one of the most disturbing of these allegations was when Russell is said to have continuously mistreated Amy Adams on the set of 2013's American Hustle. In emails leaked the following year through WikiLeaks, journalist Jonathan Alter wrote to his brother-in-law, Sony Entertainment CEO and Chair Michael Linton, "The news stories of Russell's abuse and lunatic behavior are extreme, even by Hollywood standards. He so abused Amy Adams that co-star Christian Bale got in his face and told him to stop acting like an For her part, Adams confirmed as much to GQ in 2016 when asked if these claims were true. "He did make me cry. He was hard on me, that's for sure. It was a lot. I was really just devastated on set." She added, "Jennifer Lawrence doesn't take any of it on. She's Teflon, and I am not Teflon." Debbie Reynolds got her star-making role playing Kathy Selden in 1952's Singin' in the Rain when she was just 17 years old. Reynolds was much like her character, who was trying to break into the movie business because she was not as experienced as her co-stars Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor. In fact, she had no dance training at all before production began. But Kelly, who co-directed the film, was apparently not a patient teacher. In fact, he was allegedly borderline abusive toward Reynolds. She said to Express in 2013, "My feet were bleeding from all that dancing, and when I pointed it out, Gene would say, 'Clean it up.' He was very sentimental like that." In her unsinkable memoir, published that same year, Reynolds claimed that Kelly was a, quote, "cruel taskmaster," writing, "He came to rehearsals and criticized everything I did, and never gave me a word of encouragement." For his part, Kelly eventually admitted that he treated his young co-star badly, reportedly saying, "I wasn't very nice to Debbie. I'm surprised she still speaks to me. But Kelly's on-set behavior allegedly went beyond meanness. As Reynolds recalled in her memoir of filming a particular scene, Gene took me tightly in his arms and shoved his tongue down my throat. It felt like an assault. I was stunned that this 39-year-old man would do this to me. Battles may have been common to film on the Game of Thrones set, but Hannah Waddingham, who played Septa Unella on the popular fantasy drama series from 2005 to 2016, never expected to be literally waterboarded during a day's work. In Season 6 of the show, Cersei Lannister, played by Lena Headey, pays Unella back for torturing her by having Unella captured and tortured too. Waddingham told Collider that Unella was supposed to be raped, but decision-makers made a last-minute change while she was flying to film the scene, and her wardrobe suddenly required a wetsuit. Instead of using visual effects to simulate the act of torture, Waddingham claimed that she was literally waterboarded. She told Collider, "And there I was, strapped to a wooden table with proper big straps for 10 hours. And definitely, other than childbirth, it was the worst day of my life." Waddingham and Headey were both uncomfortable, but the latter said she did it for the sake of art. Waddingham said, "My whole thing has always been, take people to the absolute nth degree of their emotions, and that's the same thing. Give of yourself, and then it gives back to you." Sophia Bush played Erin Lindsay on NBC's Chicago PD for 4 seasons, before she quit the show in 2017 in the middle of her 7-year contract. She later explained to Dak Shepard on the Armchair Expert podcast that her body could not handle the physically demanding conditions she was allegedly put in on set. "I quit because I've been so programmed to be a good girl, and to be a workhorse, and to be a tugboat that I have always prioritized tugging the ship for the crew, for the show, for the group ahead of my own health. The reality was that my body was like falling apart because I was really, really unhappy."
I woke up one day and realized I hadn't had a day off in 15 years.
Wow.
And I went straight from my junior year of college onto One Tree Hill.
She went on to claim that while the show was filmed in Chicago, creative decision-makers in Los Angeles would apparently want the cast to film outside in weather conditions that were 62 degrees below freezing because they liked how the snow looked on camera. She tried to stick it out because she didn't want to jeopardize a job for the crew members, and that, quote, "the culture protected what was happening on set." Bush alleged that she gave her bosses a whole season to fix the issues that they knew she had with the working conditions in Chicago. When they did not comply, she exited Chicago PD. Andrew Kreisberg was an executive producer and showrunner on 4 CW shows in the DC Comics universe: Arrow, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl. In 2017, when he was suspended from Warner Brothers TV Group amid allegations of sexual misconduct, according to Variety, the publication reported that 19 people in total came forward with stories of alleged abuse, and all of them requested anonymity because of, quote, "fear of retaliation." Variety reported, Kreisberg is accused of frequently touching people without their permission, asking for massages from uncomfortable female staff members, and kissing women without asking. Nearly every insider accused Kreisberg of making sexualized comments about women, with other sources alleging that he created such a toxic environment that they left rooms when he entered. Warner Brothers TV Group issued a statement to Variety. "We have recently been made aware of allegations of misconduct against Andrew Kreisberg. We have suspended Mr. Kreisberg and are conducting an internal investigation. We take all allegations of misconduct extremely seriously and are committed to creating a safe working environment for our employees and everyone involved in our productions." Charles in Charge was a sitcom about a college student who becomes a housekeeper for a family that ran from 1984 to 1990. Scott Baio played the titular character, and Nicole Eggert and Alexander Polinsky portrayed 2 of the children in the family for which he worked. But in 2018, Eggert and Polinsky came forward with allegations that Baio sexually harassed and abused them on set, per The Hollywood Reporter. In a series of now-deleted tweets posted in January 2018, Eggert claimed that Baio molested her for about 3 years when she was 14 to 17 years old. She referred to herself as a, quote, "molested child" in one tweet, and told a Twitter user, "Ask Scott Baio what happened in his garage at his house when I was a minor. Creep." Weeks later, Eggert's co-star Polinsky made claims of his own at a press conference with Eggert and their lawyer Lisa Bloom present. He described the abuse he endured at Baio's hands, claiming that he also witnessed the older actor abusing Eggert and was bullied severely as a result of it. Polinsky claimed, "Scott pulled down my pants in front of over 100 people." He also claimed that Baio regularly called him homophobic slurs.
"He assaulted me by throwing a burning hot cup of tea in my face."
For his part, Scott Baio denied these allegations via a Facebook Live video. Showrunner, producer, director Joss Whedon now has a long line of celebrities who have come forward and accused him of abuse. One of the most disturbing accounts comes from former Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel star Charisma Carpenter, who played Cordelia Chase in Whedon's Buffy universe. She was inspired to speak up after years of remaining silent when Justice League actor Ray Fisher tweeted about the abusive work environment Whedon allegedly fostered on the 2017 DCEU flick. In a statement of her own shared on Twitter in February 2021, Carpenter called Whedon, quote, "casually cruel," while citing on-set examples, like allegedly calling her fat when she was 4 months pregnant, claiming that she was forced to report to work at 1 a.m. against medical advice, and that Whedon asked her inappropriate questions about her pregnancy. She wrote, "Due to long and physically demanding days and the emotional stress of having to defend my needs as a working pregnant woman, I began to experience Braxton Hicks contractions." Whedon later fired Carpenter the season after she gave birth. She wrote, "All that promise and joy sucked right out of new motherhood." And Joss was the vampire. Carpenter noted that Whedon's alleged, quote, "abuse of power" resulted in her continuing to struggle with a, quote, "chronic physical condition," writing, "While he found his misconduct amusing, it only served to intensify my performance anxiety, disempower me, and alienate me from my peers." In 2017, the female cast and crew members of the hit teen drama One Tree Hill were one of the first groups to band together and make abuse and sexual assault allegations against their former boss, the series showrunner Mark Schwann. The statement was a response to writer Audrey Watchhope's now-deleted tweets alleging inappropriate behavior, like unwanted touching from Schwann, who wasn't named at the time. 19 women, including Watchope and actors Sophia Bush, Hilary Burton, and Bethany Joy Lenz, gave a joint, open letter statement to Variety. The statement read, in part, "Many of us were, to varying degrees, manipulated psychologically and emotionally. More than one of us is still in treatment for post-traumatic stress. Many of us were put in uncomfortable positions and had to swiftly learn to fight back, sometimes physically, because it was made clear to us that the supervisors in the room were not the protectors they were supposed to be. Many of us were spoken to in ways that ran the spectrum from deeply upsetting to traumatizing to downright illegal. And a few of us were put in positions where we felt physically unsafe." After facing similar allegations during his time on The Royals, showrunner Schwann was fired from the E-series. Bush has since talked about her experience on the set of One Tree Hill frequently, calling the show a, quote, "gross older man's fantasy" in May 2021. She said on the Chicks in the Office podcast that Schwann's attitude toward women can be seen on screen. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, help is available. Visit the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network website or contact RAIN's National Helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE 4673.